Now, Game Week 9 might have only just begun, but in today's video, we're going to be looking at my top transfer targets ahead of Game Week 10, and most importantly, the best Joao Pedro replacements for the upcoming game week. Now, before we dive into today's video, of course, if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as we're looking to hit 25,000 subscribers before the end of the season, and it is only possible with your guys' amazing support. So like I said, if you do enjoy any of the content, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and any dilemmas you've got with your team, get them in the comment section below. As always, I like to take a look at the 11-5 projected data for the next 5 game weeks. If you want to go and check out their website, link in the description for that. It's a really useful tool, especially with planning your sides and looking at teams you need to be targeting with upcoming fixtures, obviously going forward. So let's go straight into this. Let's start off then with the left-hand side. That is going to be the projected goals over the next few weeks. Now, I know Liverpool are topping the list right now, but obviously I'm filming this and they're currently 2-0 down to Brentford. They're going to need a big second half comeback to kind of, really start to, cement themselves as a side we need to be obviously looking at over the next few weeks. They did obviously demolish Frankfurt in midweek with a, was it 5-2 in the end or 5-1 in the end? An absolute drubbing, but it seems like the goals have definitely dried up in the Premier League and they're still struggling to get themselves in, and they've been very poor in that first half so far. So probably not a team I would be looking to invest in. Arsenal are heading into their best run of fixtures coming up. So of course, if Saka is available for tomorrow, he's still definitely going to be a very good pickup. If Gyökeres goes and bags big as well, maybe worth keeping him with some very good fixtures coming up for Arsenal as well. City still have some great fixtures. Haaland very much going to still be a very steady Eddie. Now Chelsea, if you've obviously bought into Enzo Fernandez this week or any of their other attackers, probably outside of Joao Pedro, I still would feel pretty confident with still a great set of fixtures coming up. Sunderland at the moment this season are just absolutely flying, and probably a team we need to obviously reevaluate a little bit with, especially as you can see here, some of the 11-5 stuff as well, having them down towards the bottom for projected goals and projected clean sheets. Maybe this year they're going to be like this year's Forest, where they're a little bit under the radar. They've spent a lot of money on that squad, and actually probably one of the teams that isn't going to be a green anymore, and maybe somebody that we do of course need to take a little bit kind of, more kind of care with when obviously selecting players against them. We can also see there Crystal Palace heading into some pretty decent fixtures over the next few weeks. So Mateta and Saul, with those projected not goal numbers looking very good, are going to be very popular assets. Brighton as well. I think obviously Minter looked very bright today. Got himself the assist for the free kick goal from Welbeck. And Danny Welbeck playing 90 minutes in a row and backing himself 3 goals as well. Interestingly, has the same amount of goals as John Philippe Mateta so far this season. We're seeing Newcastle's fixtures get a little bit more tricky after the next 2 as well, so maybe Walter might be time to potentially shift him on after game week 11, I would say. Bournemouth's next 2 are really tricky, but I would still hold Semenyo through that more difficult period, because as you can see, once they get past game week 11, they do again hit some pretty nice fixtures. United's is pretty steady, to be honest, and I definitely think, if you are going to invest into United assets, this is an ideal hop on point. They've got a great set of fixtures all the way up until game week 22, I believe it is. So, it's definitely going to be worth investing into Manchester United, in my opinion. I've been saying this for a few weeks now as well. West Ham, I would probably maybe say bench their assets, get the game week 11 fixture, but after that, probably would be looking to, of course, offload any assets, whether that be Bowen or Paqueta. Probably time to move them on in the next few weeks. Taking a look then at the clean sheet data, of course, we're seeing Arsenal top of that list. And if Gabriel is out tomorrow and it is only going to be, like a short-term injury, I still think he's going to be worth keeping, because, like I said, Arsenal's clean sheet numbers are absolutely ridiculous. Their lowest one there is a 33% chance of a clean sheet in game week 13. I'd still honestly back them most weeks to keep a clean sheet. Chelsea's are good, but at the moment with Chalobah and Tosin, they do just look very comical defending. One of the worst sides for XG conceded. Liverpool as well. Probably Liverpool and Chelsea's is more based over historical data over the past few seasons of them being pretty good defences. Obviously, Chelsea last year were, I think, third for XG conceded. Liverpool obviously were sat in second for that metric last season. But this year, both of these sides seem like they are struggling a little bit. Maybe Chelsea's is a little bit of game state with some of the red cards coming up. But definitely, I don't think I probably would be looking to invest in either of these defences. Same goes with City as well. There's just too much rotation. We saw it last week with Gvardiol bench, so probably not worth keeping there. Bournemouth, difficult fixture this week, so probably looking for some rotation assets, but outside of that, I probably obviously wouldn't worry. And, you know, still probably keep the likes of Sinese. He'd still be a good player that I'd still be looking to bring into my side. We're seeing okay fixtures for Newcastle as well, so their assets are still going to be easy holds. Fulham head into a nice set of fixtures as well coming up, so maybe if, of course, Joachim Andersen is going to be fit for game week 10, he might potentially be a buy or a very easy hold if he is fit and available with some good fixtures coming up. Everton as well, obviously Michael Keane looking like a decent option at 4.5 million with, of course, Branthwaite being out for a very, very long-term injury. We're also seeing Crystal Palace as well with some pretty decent projected numbers over the next few weeks. So I think people are, of course, going to be looking at Munoz and, of course, are going to be looking at Richards. That is the 11-5 data. Of course, if you want to go and check it out for yourself, I will leave a link in the description. But let's move on to some individual player picks. Now, before we dive into taking a look at some individual player picks, we got an interesting quote from Maresca at the end of the Chelsea game, and it was basically around Joao Pedro's goal drought, and he's pretty much said that Joao Pedro isn't training every single day and is kind of managing a little bit of an injury problem. Same goes with Enzo and Moises Caicedo, which isn't great to see because you do feel when, of course, players are playing kind of, you know, through these little niggles and stuff like that, they're not 100% sharp, they're not 100% ready, and it also massively affects their performance. I think obviously we saw that for, you know, the start of last season when Saka was kind of playing through that injury. He wasn't at the same level we, of course, know him to be. And I think that is what we're obviously seeing with Joao Pedro at the moment. He's obviously got this niggle. He's not at the level he needs to be. And I even think with the good fixtures that are, of course, coming up for Chelsea, I still think probably Joao Pedro is going to be a sell off the back of these comments. They're going to get Delap potentially back for game week 10, probably more likely game week 11 in my opinion. He could obviously feature, but of course he has been out with quite a long-term injury, so I think they're obviously going to just ease him into the squad. Chelsea, of course, do have Champions League football coming up, though, so there is, you know, a lot of games that obviously they've got to manage with this squad. So I do think the players like Joao Pedro, like Enzo Fernandez, like Caicedo, maybe might have some of their minutes managed. I still think, you know, Enzo is still going to be a good pick longer term. There are some great fixtures in there. He's got, obviously, multiple avenues to points, which is something that I'm obviously focusing a lot on this season. But for me, Joao Pedro, with these comments, Delap being back, and again, no shots at goal today, just 0 shots again. That's another game that he's managed to do that. I do think he is going to be a player that you are looking to sell this week. Now, there are plenty of options to go for, but I do think there are, obviously, in my opinion, 2 kind of options that I've really narrowed it down to that I'm going to be looking for. Let's start off then with the first option. I think this one's going to be a very, very popular move. Probably one of the most kind of easy transfers that most people are going to be making. If, of course, Jean-Philippe Mateta makes it unscathed through the game against Arsenal. Do remember, though, if you are going to bring him in, Palace do have a midweek fixture in the Carabao Cup against Liverpool. So I would probably recommend that you do wait for that fixture, of course, to take place first before looking to bring in Jean-Philippe Mateta. But however, the fixtures are immense. They're absolutely incredible over the next few weeks. They've got some really good fixtures coming up against some of the worst sides for XG conceded within the league already this season. And he's just been an absolute bagsman that has been obviously performing, or underperforming should I say, on his underlying numbers. The minutes have been good, but my big concern is that pretty much Palace are going to be playing midweek football, pretty much going to be playing 3 times a week, so Saturday, midweek, for a lot of the season. I think it's pretty much like up until maybe mid-January. That's where Palace are going to be doing that. And you do feel that maybe some of these minutes for the players like Mateta, Munoz, Sarr potentially could be managed a little bit. And maybe in these more easier games, the likes of Burnley, the likes of Wolves, we might see some early substitutions, or maybe Nketiah does lead the line. That is my concern. I think, you know, Jean-Philippe Mateta and Palace look really, really good going forward. But in the back of my mind, there is a little bit of worry about the amount of fixtures that Crystal Palace do have coming up over the next few weeks. I still think he's going to be a very popular move, and still going to be a move I'm probably going to make myself as well, because the fixtures are definitely there, but I am a little bit concerned with how much football Crystal Palace are going to be playing. This is a side that aren't used to European midweek games as well, and like I said, their only real break is going to come in January. So November and December are going to be very busy for Crystal Palace, probably going to be playing 3 games a week up until, well, they are going to be playing 3 games a week up until January. That is my concern, but other than that, I mean, we've all seen Jean-Philippe Mateta. We've seen some of the chances he gets. He's on penalties. Palace as well have been very, very good for chance creation so far this year. On the flip side of that, somebody that also has scored 5 goals so far this season, and I think is really going under the radar, it's going to be Danny Welbeck. Like, I can't believe I'm saying this. He's played 3 games now where he's played 90 minutes. He's scored in all 3 of those games as well. Obviously coming away with a wonderful goal today with that free kick. But you look at Danny Welbeck and you do think, for 6.4 million, a guy that has, you know, very good fixtures here. Palace don't really have, you know, obviously any European football to contend with. You do look at those fixtures and you do go, if the guy's playing good minutes, Brighton are always going to score goals. I think that is something that Brighton always have within their locker. And we did see it on the 11FI data as well. There is kind of, you know, a big bump in terms of projected goals over the next few weeks for Brighton. So maybe Danny Welbeck could be that player. Now, of course, penalties are massively up in the air. I believe Danny Welbeck missed one earlier in the season, so I don't think he's going to be the penalty taker, which probably does devalue him a little bit. But like I said, the underlying data isn't terrible. He scored the exact same amount of goals as Jean-Philippe Mateta. And if we look to the fixtures and the 11FI data, it is looking very, very likely that, you know, Brighton are going to score quite a few goals over the next few weeks. And maybe Danny Welbeck is going a little bit under the radar. Maybe he's going to be that differential. Or maybe if you've already got, of course, Haaland and you've already got, you know, Mateta within the side, because I know some people do have that. And of course, their other forward is going to be Joao Pedro. Then maybe if you're looking for that Joao Pedro replacement, if you've already got Mateta, then maybe a punt on somebody like a Danny Welbeck, or at the very similar price could be somebody like Thiago from Brentford as well. I like him for 6.2. You know, the fixtures are a little bit more difficult for them over the next few weeks. However, he is a penalty taker. Again, he's seeing very, very good minutes. So again, we could maybe have, you know, Welbeck or Thiago as potential options over the next few weeks. But yeah, I think Welbeck might be maybe one to monitor over the next few weeks. If he continues to play very good minutes, continues to score goals, and if he can get those penalties back, he could be a real nice asset over the next few weeks. However, I do still think the popular move is, of course, going to be Jean-Philippe Mateta for, obviously, Joao Pedro. That is going to be a move that a lot of FPL managers are looking to make. But, of course, my caveats would be that, you know, Crystal Palace have got a lot of fixtures coming up. Like I said, no midweek break all the way up until January. They've also got a Carabao Cup round against Liverpool this midweek as well. So do make sure that Jean-Philippe Mateta makes it through that fixture first. Okay, finishing up today's video, I wanted to look at Manchester United midfielders, because like I said, a lot of people are probably going to be looking to invest in probably a Manchester United midfielder. Some of us already own Bruno Fernandes this season. Some of us have kept Bruno Fernandes this season. So, of course, he's going to be a player we're going to talk about. Bryan Mbeumo off the back of his brace today. 5 goal involvement so far this season. And, of course, Matheus Cunha with a beautiful finish today as well is probably catching the eyes of, you know, some FPL managers as well. So I thought we would talk about all 3 of these players. United have some absolutely cracking fixtures, like I said, all the way up until game week 22. So definitely worth investing in my personal opinion, over the next few weeks. Because like I said, they've got those great long-term fixtures. Of course, as well, they have no European football to worry about, no Carabao Cup football as well. So a lot of these guys are probably going to play 90 minutes most weeks. Let's start off then with the brace hero, Bryan Mbeumo. Wow, he took his goals today really well, didn't he? The underlying data as well is looking very good for Bryan Mbeumo. He just is a great forward. And when you do watch Manchester United, he is one of the players that massively passes the eye test for me. Usually if United are doing anything good, it's probably going to come down that right hand side. Him and Ahmad have formed a beautiful connection really, with Ahmad obviously on the overrun. on the underlap as well. Both of these guys just look really, really good at the moment. But of course, Bryan Mbeumo is that little bit more of a clinical player. He's definitely, shown that today in today's game. And we've all know what Bryan is definitely capable of from his time in the Premier League with Brentford. He just is an absolute bagsman sometimes, isn't he? And he definitely, sometimes is one of those players that can underperform on his data or overperform because how good a forward kind of, shooting he is. He is one of those players that for me always, is just an absolute joy to watch, where he does cut inside, has the shot. He is very, very good. And like I said, the fixtures, I think, are really probably going to favour him as well. I'm looking at that Spurs game. I think that could be one where he could really, really get at them as well. Matheus Cunha, like I said, did take his goal beautifully today. My big concern with him is probably more the minutes. He probably comes in third as my Manchester United asset pick. That is where I probably would see him in terms of that, to be honest. He's massively underperforming on his data so far. There has been a few early substitutions as well for Matheus Cunha, so maybe that would worry me a little bit. I feel like Bryan Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes, their minutes seem a lot more secured, and I would rather, try and find that extra 0.3 million to go to Mbeumo rather than, of course, picking up Matheus Cunha. That would personally be the way that I would look at it. Maybe you're going to disagree in the comments, but for me personally, I would rather have Mbeumo ahead of Cunha. Now let's talk about Bruno Fernandes, because if you've obviously, watched any of the content on the channel so far this season, I've been a big advocate of players that have multiple avenues to points. And I think Bruno Fernandes as well has kind of, I've been maybe one of the people that has been his PR piece. Very, very unfortunate not to have come away with any attacking returns against the game at Brighton. I think it was like 0.58 expected goal involvement, and Mbeumo hit the post off obviously him teeing him up. He also had a brilliant shot as well, saved by the Bergen, and had a chance towards the back end of the game as well. So he had opportunities today from open play. Like I said, 0.58 expected goal involvement from today's game. But one of the big reasons that I absolutely love Bruno Fernandes as an option is he's got so many avenues to points. He is just, number one, hits DEFCON. Number two, he's still got penalties. Obviously, if you didn't see the Almiron quote from last week, he basically said, like Bruno's taken 70 at the club already. We still feel he's, going to be up for the next one. He'll definitely go and score the next one. We're a little bit surprised that he missed like 2 in a row. So that for me definitely suggests that Bruno is still going to be the penalty taker for this club. So I wouldn't, of course, worry about that if you do have him. Or, of course, are thinking about potentially bringing him in. And if you look at baseline BPS, and if you don't know what baseline BPS is, that is the scores that you click when you go into player info or the game info, and you see all the scores. And usually, obviously, the top players are the ones that are doing the most key actions, and they're the ones that come away with, of course, the the bonus points. But Bruno, his baseline, so that's before any sort of attacking action happens in a game, is ridiculously good. He's currently, I think, maybe the second, maybe after today's game, because he had another good game for baseline BPS, is going to be first for that metric. So what that usually means is if Bruno picks up an attacking return, especially in more tighter games as well, he's probably going to come away with 2 to 3 bonus. We saw that in the game against Liverpool as well, where he walked away with, of course, all 3 bonus points as well, just off the back of an assist. Like, just an assist, by the way, guys, and was 1 off DEFCON as well. So, could have been a very, very nice haul for just picking up an assist, because, like I said, his baseline BPS is absolutely ridiculous. And this is what he has over the other Manchester United players for me, and why I'm still advocating for Bruno to be the top Manchester United pick. Yes, he's playing as a DM, but he's still getting the opportunities. He's just got the multiple avenues to points that can lead him to get some absolutely big mega hauls. DEFCON, baseline BPS, penalties, corners, and of course open play threat. He has a lot going for him. I think he is going to be one of those players that is just going to very nicely tick along as the season progresses. 4 points today, probably should have got a hell of a lot more. And if you factor in the 2 penalty misses and the 2 games where he hit 11 DEFCON, it would make him one of the most successful midfielders for point scoring so far in the game, only behind Semenyo. And we all know how class he has been. For me, I'm still going to be tooting the Bruno Fernandes horn, but of course, Bryan Mbeumo is running him very, very close at the moment. Of course, his finishing is just absolutely sensational. If I was to pick one right now, of course, I would still go for Bruno, but I think Mbeumo, like I said, is running him very, very close. If I had Bruno, would I make the switch to Bryan Mbeumo? Not for me personally. I still think you've got a guy here that is going to tick along very, very nicely, and like I said, was very, very unfortunate not to have came away with an attacking return. I think he was like 18, 19 baseline BPS today as well. If he, of course, gets one of those attacking returns, he's coming away with some sort of bonus points from that game. Obviously not going to be hitting the Mbeumo heights with the 2 goals, but definitely could have snagged 2 or 1 bonus point as well. Hitting DEFCON, it would have been, again, a very nice score for Bruno Fernandes, and I do think he's just going to be continually doing this throughout the course of the season. That is going to conclude today's transfer targets video. Of course, if you did enjoy it, make sure you're liking, commenting, and subscribing. Like I said, we're on that road to 25k now on the channel. And yeah, any questions you've got about your team, get them in the comments section. But the best of luck for game week 10.